What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about Kena Bridge of Spirits. I finally got the name right. It's been changed so many times, but that is the official pronunciation, considering they said the character name. No, but I want to talk about my experience so far playing this game. I played around 3 hours at the time I'm recording this. Now, at the time you guys will see the video, I'll probably have put in around 6 or 7 hours. So if you guys comment and I comment back, like, I'm going to have more knowledge, I guess, more experience of the game that I'll be able to talk to you about. But I've played around 3 hours. That seems to be about a third of the game, because the average time is somewhere in that 8 to 10 hour range. I saw one specific reviewer say 9, and I think people are getting to it in that amount of time. So, is this worth a purchase? This isn't necessarily my review. I want to save that. I'll do a full-on review probably on Saturday for our new podcast that we started last week. I'll do a full, like a 30-40 minute breakdown of the game and many other things on that show. But for now, just kind of quick, easy thoughts on it. Like, should you pay money for it? So I will take, I don't know if this makes me sound cocky, but I mean, I think I was a general force for this game on YouTube. You search up, Kena Bridge of Spirits videos up until the day it released, and the biggest ones, most of them, in fact, in terms of quantity, like the amount of videos and views on those videos, I was the one. So I don't know if that gives me extra credibility. I don't know if people think I'm, again, just being overly cocky, but I was pumping up this game to no end. I mean, I really have always been impressed with specifically how the game looked when it was announced, and now it's out, and I really like it. So it took me long enough to say that I really, really do like this game. It's rough around the edges. The thing, I guess, to be flat, very transparent, and I've said this before, right? Now, in fact, I'll even be more transparent. Ember Lab gave me the code, okay? So I paid no money for this. They gave it to me. But again, as you may or may not know, depending on how long you've been with me, it doesn't change. If the game sucks, I'm going to call it out very harshly, and if it doesn't suck, I'm also going to applaud it. The game is good. The game is really good. Visually, it looks literally just as good as the trailers we've all seen. So visually, there's literally nothing I can say against it. I guess if you want to nitpick, which you could, I'm not saying you can't. If you want to nitpick, the game looks visually like next level throughout all the cutscenes. I guess the one small issue there is it's not seamless. A lot of games nowadays where the camera from the cutscenes, it'll do like a spin move. It's one of those easy moves that I think really Naughty Dog kind of started it. I think there's others, by the way. It's not just Naughty Dog, but basically cutscene and the gameplay blend together. There's no loading. There's no black screen to kind of get you from one thing to the other. Kena does have that a little, but I mean, now I'm playing on PS5. The loading is in fact better, but it's very limited amount of loading time between anything. So even though the cutscenes it goes to black and then it goes to the cutscene, it's very short in terms of the loading. The textures up close are very, very good. Further away are a little less detailed. Again, that is extremely... It's something I noticed where I was like, I wonder if people are going to be mad if I don't kind of say that out loud. But really, everything in kind of your field of view, everything close by you is extremely, extremely beautiful. The combat, guys, the combat's legit good. Now, that was one of the number one things I was worried about in this game, is how does the combat actually, because we saw gameplay, but it wasn't that long, at least the ones I saw leading into the game, not that long. Even if you only saw the trailers, the gameplay snippets were even shorter than what I'm talking about. And so, we don't really know what to expect from that. Well, I think the biggest things to surprise me in this game is, number one, the size of it. It's open world, actually, and it's more open world than I thought it would be. There's things you can do. There's like archery training. There's meditation kind of circles where you can gain maximum. There's like things you can do off the beaten path. Not too much, okay? We're not talking, like a literal, like a Witcher, like an open world thing, but definitely, honestly, I didn't think we'd get any of that, and maybe I just wasn't paying attention enough, but I didn't think that any of that stuff existed. So there's definitely stuff to do. It feels bigger than I thought it was gonna be, right? And also, it doesn't really hurt it, because you can make a game that maybe is supposed to be smaller too big. You can make it too big, and then it feels too big, where it's like, it's kind of empty at this point. The game is linear while being open world. Like, there's definitely paths. I guess the one thing that does kind of get on my nerves when playing it is that, and I only say that because not just you can only go certain places, which honestly is fine, and I don't really mind it, but the thing is, when you jump, when you climb, everything is very specific. That's kind of the thing I noticed about this game. Combat is phenomenal, but there's, at least in my opinion, or at least what I've seen, I don't think there's a lock on. Okay, and maybe that's just me. Maybe I missed that tutorial screen. Again, the graphics are beautiful, but there's like a small thing. So what I think I really want to say about this is it's an incredible game, and I'm going to talk more about specifics in a second, but it's an incredible game, but it also is rough around the edges where I think you could tell pretty easily that this is not necessarily their first game. I don't think you'd ever be able to tell that some random studio that doesn't make video games normally, right, naturally, that they made this as their first attempt. I don't think you would know that, but I do think you would know that it's a small team. Ember Lab is an incredibly small team and obviously does not have the budget of a Naughty Dog. It's, I guess, sticking with Sony, right? Naughty Dog, Sucker Punch, etc. You can tell that. Okay, let's not kid ourselves around. But it's an indie game. I mean, that's literally what it is. It's a $40 game. It's not full price. So yeah, and going back to the combat, it's incredible. There's a lot more to it than I thought. The base attacks are awesome. Using your shield, I mean, just never gets old to me. And also visually, all this stuff looks incredible. The bow and arrow is awesome. What you can do with the rots, you can use them in certain ways. The enemies, they constantly are adding different. Now again, when I'm recording this, remember again, 3 hours in, but I'm going to be longer in by the time you guys see it. Already, there's many different enemy types. They just keep introducing them every so often. The mission structure is pretty good. There's puzzle elements. I mean, it really is, people will compare it to Legend of Zelda. I think that's fair because that, you get to an area, it's not blatantly obvious what to do, but it's somewhat obvious, and you figure it out. And you figure out a puzzle, and you get to the next area, and there's mission trackers and all that kind of stuff. It doesn't have like a walking line throughout the world where you know exactly where to go, but you generally, you're generally in the right area, or you can get to the right area. And then again, you solve some puzzles, you beat some enemies, you use your rots, you destroy the things. That's another visual thing that I think is awesome, is the kind of like the darkness or whatever you want to call it that is literally rotting the world, right? When you clear it up and it becomes beautiful, it becomes like grown again, the scenery, right? It looks phenomenal, and it seamlessly does it. So when you blow something up, like an actual like big enemy, right? Then when everything kind of comes back to life in the area, I mean, it really looks really cool to see it. I would say weakest thing so far is probably the story. And really, to me, it's not on the forefront of anything. Like, it's there, you're going in a general direction because of certain things that are happening in the game, but you don't really feel all that invested. I also don't feel all that invested to Kana herself. She is very cool, like, visually, and what she can do. I think her voice actress is pretty solid. She's not the most amazing, but she's also not bad, like, at all. I just haven't really felt anything super, and maybe I will later, but I haven't felt anything insanely big to connect me to that character. They kind of just start you in like part of her journey. Like, they say, okay, well, she has these powers, she knows what she's doing, which is fine. I actually like that this is not like a learning tale. You already know how to do things and you're kind of just getting better over time. That's fine, but that is harder to get to know a character when you're in that situation. They haven't done it exactly yet. The final thing, I guess, in terms of negatives, the audio is very weird. Now, the music is beautiful. The music also sometimes plays weirdly over when characters are talking, including in kind of mini cutscenes, which is weird. And also, when they're fighting, things become very, like, mumbled. Like, it sounds like you're, I guess muffled is the better, like, mumble is the word, but muffled is probably the word I'm looking for. I don't know, like, when you fight, if she talks, because you can't have her, if you do interactive things while you're fighting, she'll speak, a couple small words. It sounds like you're in like a ton, like it sounds very, I don't get it. Honestly, like, it's a small thing. I wouldn't I guess if I was a reviewer, I would dock like 0.2 or 0.3, like too much water for IGN. It would be something, it would be like a 0.2 kind of thing that I would take off of the game. It's not something that's going to make me stop playing it, but it is just a little weird. And again, that is kind of the rough around the edges thing. That's just one of those things where it's like, yeah, in like a super polished, which some of them aren't, but super polished AAA game, that's heralded as like game of the year or game of the generation, they don't have these issues. But those are very, but those are very rare. I honestly feel like one thing you should take away, and this will be the last thing I say, I feel like, myself personally, and you guys can let me know too, I feel like I am being very hard on this game because my expectations were literally through the roof, that any small thing I'm going to say, okay, well, maybe this may, but when you really take a step back, $40 game, not everybody was as invested in this as I was. So to a lot of people, I think this is perfect. You know, like if you start this game and you aren't me and you didn't have expectations to the moon, I think you're blown away by it. I think you're thinking this is not an indie game. You know, I think you have those kind of thoughts. Even me got the game from them. They're a very friendly company. I really appreciate it. And I've been pumping this game up for a long time, but that also gets my expectations insanely high. I'm very happy with it. Small things here and there, jumping, like the parkour kind of stuff of like going on ledges. 1 is a lot like Uncharted. 2, you can get very like, it gets very messy where you can sometimes like miss a jump, or you can't jump on certain things. You'll end up like falling, like I guess down like a waterfall sometimes and killing yourself. There are some small things here or there, and they stand out only because I'm so kind of like super focused on them. But ultimately, if I kind of just and I'm only doing that, I would say, so that people don't call me like a fanboy of it. I'm doing it to myself, kind of. So that's kind of where I stand. I love it. Again, by the time you guys see this, I'll probably almost have beaten it. Like I should beat it today, your time. Okay, I should beat it on September 22nd. So we'll see what happens, but there'll be more videos. This was kind of almost a review in progress, right? Again, on Saturday, we have a podcast. Actually, Podcast Now has a podcast. The first episode was last Saturday. Second episode is this Saturday. We do kind of like a main topic and then a bunch of other stuff. The main topic of this week's episode will be a full-on review, talking about everything. I'll probably talk about the ending and stuff like that. So if you want to know my full thoughts on the entire game, that'll happen on Saturday in that show. It's called Save Point Podcast, okay? Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure you're subscribed, bell icon. There will be more Kana videos before Saturday, but that's one to look out for as well. If you guys want to follow me on Twitter or subscribe to my second channel or support us through Patreon or YouTube memberships, links are in the description below. Join button for YouTube memberships is next to the subscribe button. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all on the next video.